Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So, welcome to another market open stream. It's another exciting day. Let's see what Bitcoin and crypto does. And, of course, let's talk about this countdown, this next target. Why and when is it going to come? So, let's talk about it as well. All right. Let's do it, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are starting out the day right around 107,000. Bitcoin is holding, waiting for its next move. Let's see. Today, the U.S. market is green. S&P 500 is about to crack its all-time high, and NASDAQ did so as well. Dow already in the green. So obviously, the U.S. market is opening up pretty well and has been moving pretty well for months since April. April was kind of our bottom. Same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin went down to 70s in April. And look at how it's recovered. Same thing with the U.S. market. People, despite all the uncertainty right now, despite this new war, the old war, the tariffs, the inflation, everything, you know what? People are still, those that know that how you build wealth is investing, they continue to do so. That's basically the takeaway here. People are still investing. And, it seems like it's been so long, but it's really only been 2 months since that bottom that I talked about in April. I'm not talking about April of last year or years before. It's just within the last 2 months, things have rallied very, very hard. And it goes to show you why you don't want to get out of the game. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin fell down to 74,000 in April. You do the math, that's a 50% gain in the last 2 months. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. Same thing with the stock market. It hasn't done nearly as well as Bitcoin, but still, it's at all-time high now. All right. I saw this. I think this is pretty... it's something that we don't have to worry about right now. Something that we can worry about next year, unless Fed Chair Powell, decides to resign. Okay. I don't think he's going to resign, but his term is up next year in 2026. And this would be a weird move, okay, to be moved from the Treasury Secretary into the Fed chair. But it may happen. And we know that Bessent has been doing whatever Trump wants. So if this happens, if Powell, when his term is over and Bessent is made the new Fed chair, man, he may be cutting rates left and right. He may be cutting like crazy because that's what Trump wants. So let's see if that's the case. But, something interesting thing about Trump has said in the past that he wants to fire Powell, but according to the law, he can't. But he's already preparing for a successor, that's for sure. So that's interesting. Also, what else with Trump? His gold phone originally said made in USA, and they removed that because it's not made in USA. It's designed in the USA, but not made in the USA. So you know how Trump was bashing Tim Cook and Apple, saying, well, why don't you just move everything to America? Even him and his family now know how expensive it is to move manufacturing to the U.S. If they can't do it with their own Trump phone, imagine Apple trying to do it with all of their products and move their entire line to the U.S. like what Trump wants immediately. It's near impossible unless you jack up the price by tenfold. I just found that. The irony in that. because he was really bashing Tim Cook, how he's disappointed that he's not moving everything to the U.S. It's tough, and it's a lot more expensive, that's for sure. All right, what else is there? Let's see. Stocks, Coinbase has been doing very well. Circle seems like today is picking up again, and I do have more stablecoin news, so that's good. But, you know, whatever you see crypto-related stocks go up, that's a good thing, because obviously the interest is there. And these are just gateways, right, into alts, basically. Well, Bitcoin and alts. So today you see Circle's up, recovering. Coinbase is up. Everything's up today, crypto-related. So it's looking like it could be a good day. And then if you look at ETF inflows, another fantastic day yesterday. 547 million. You know, this is going to add up. This is going to add up. I see someone in the live chat saying 146K, George is dreaming. People said that about 100K when we're at 40K and 30K and 10K. It's not a dream. When you look at these guys are buying $500 million worth of Bitcoin per day. Per day. Not per week. Per day. And this is not going to stop. I'm going to show you guys. This is just ETFs. This is just other funds, you know, some institutions, maybe some retail investors. But BlackRock and these other large asset managers, they are buying billions per week themselves. And you got the companies now, public trade companies, private companies, family offices, you know, they're buying sovereign funds. They're buying not just ETFs, but they're buying Bitcoin. Metaplanet, I just covered them last week, buying 1,000 Bitcoin. Now they buy, you know, he's trying to be playful with his buys. Last week, I think it was 1,111. This week, he's buying 1,234. I mean, 100 million every week now, every single week. And I just covered a story about how he's raising 500 million, you know, to buy more Bitcoin. You got someone else called Nano Labs that boosted their holdings to 1,000 Bitcoin now. They just bought 600 more. It's not chump change, guys. This is over $100 million in Bitcoin. Not chump change at all. Again, when you have billions every week being bought, it's going to amount to something. Bitcoin is not going to stay here forever. This is the reason why Bitcoin is so strong. Even though it tends to get manipulated sometimes, there's whale shakeouts, liquidity shakeouts, yes. But if these purchases didn't add up, we wouldn't be at where we are. We would be still at the 40s and 30s like just a few years ago. Here's another example. Smarter Web Company purchased 56 million worth of Bitcoin. They are from London. And, you know, now it's becoming kind of a game. There's a gamification to it because Sailor started, then Metaplanet, and then you got others. Now they're all kind of comparing themselves to each other to see who acquires more and who acquired more from the beginning. So you could see how Smarter Web Company is trying to brag how, yeah, look at all the purchases, and they're purchasing way faster than anyone else. So now it's become like a game for these companies, a Bitcoin acquiring game, and that's fantastic. Stephen Young, exactly. Don't forget our last low of the cycle was 15,000. A lot of you guys lived through that, and look at where we are now, right? So don't live in a moment look for the future. GameStop also, 450 million. Although this is interesting, GameStop stock has not been doing well ever since they announced they're moving into Bitcoin. But maybe that's going to change. They've raised close to $2 billion now. Right? A lot of that money is going to go into Bitcoin. So I think it's just a matter of time investors in Wall Street realize that. And, you know, their stock will start moving upwards. And then we could get some really bullish things. If GameStop, let me go back. If GameStop starts, you know, joining this game of Bitcoin accumulation like Metaplanet, Sailor, and others, man, that could be amazing too. Because they have all the degens already. They have all the Wall Street Bets people and Roaring Kitty and others that are following it like daily. And if they start going heavy into Bitcoin every single week, that's going to be a really good thing. Really, really good thing. All right. Now on to this. Wyckoff Accumulation. So where did I get that 146K from? Well, from this and from other charts that I've shown for the last probably 6 months. Again, it's just a game of accumulation. We may have shakeouts, we may have whale activity, but ultimately we are trending upwards. There may be times where we go sideways, and it seems like we're not. That's when you got to zoom out and focus on the future. We did this in 2024 too. A lot of people forgot how bad it was in 2024. Yeah, we had a euphoria moment where Bitcoin shot up to 73K. And then we trended downwards for like 6 months, and we hit a low at like 40K before we start going upwards, right? And we formed a new high. It feels like that now, you know? Since April, I already said, we were down to 70K. We're up 50% from April. And we may be stuck here at 100K. But again, we're stuck at 100K. We're not stuck at 50K or 40K or 70K or 16K. We're stuck at 100K. So there's nothing to be bearish about. And when we are ready, we will make that next leg up. There's a lot of things. The M2 money supply, which Bitcoin tracks, shows that there should be another leg up soon. You got this bullish flag pattern. You got this Wyckoff thing going on. You got a lot of stuff. But even if you don't believe in any of that, believe in the accumulation. 500 million being bought per day. And these other guys buying hundreds of millions per week. It's going to amount to something. They're not just buying it and selling it. No, they're holding it in their treasuries. So, good things are coming. And, you know, speaking of stablecoins, since it's so hot, Circle looks like it's going to continue forward. But, and we're all talking about this genius bill in the U.S. Europe has MiCA rules, and they're looking to ease the rules for stablecoins because supposedly it's really, really strict. It makes issuers more like banks. But they're trying to be more lenient with that because I think they realize too, a lot of companies want to utilize blockchain, want to utilize stablecoins for transactions and settlements. And Hong Kong is looking like they want to follow too. So we're seeing a lot of new activity happening. And that's all good. Good for the entire ecosystem. What else? Well, outside of Bitcoin accumulation and stablecoins, we still have funds. I think people forget about just venture funds in general. Mike Novogratz, he actually holds a ton of Bitcoin. He's raising 175 million. Okay, he's going to invest in here, I think, 30 individual companies or digital assets, right? So not just Bitcoin. He's going to be putting that money into 30 projects. And why does he want to create this fund? Well, because institutional allocators, family offices, high net worth individuals are demanding it. So demand is there. You just gotta wait. Here's another one. Huazing Capital allocates $100 million for Web3 ventures. And another one on China, China Renaissance, $100 million for expansion. Again, just pay attention. Just read the room, okay? And the room is bright for crypto and Bitcoin. You just have to be patient. That's really it. All right, let's see. U.S. market doing pretty well. Circle and Coinbase leading the way. Circle has been down for a couple days now, pretty big. Someone asked me yesterday, should we be worried? No, it was just profit taking. It's been going up for like 2 months straight. So it's up today. Coinbase, I just covered how someone gave them a $500 target, and they're up 4% today, 52-week high. Crypto related stuff is doing well. Looking, Robinhood made a new high yesterday, hoping that they continue to trend. MicroStrategy is up slightly today as well. If it clicks into it, it won't let me click into it for some reason. Anyways. All right, let's do some Q&A. Tony asked, do you think the rate cut in September could be catalyst for alts? I think it's a catalyst for the next leg up. I'm still thinking that this 146K target or 130, 150, whatever for Bitcoin is going to come soon. And then we kind of go flat or sideways or even trend downwards until about that October timeframe. Because if you look at October, that's when things go up. The last 2 years, 2023, 2024, October is when we start going upwards. And generally speaking, at the end of the cycle, that's what happens too, right around October. So to answer your question, I think it all aligns. If we get a rate cut in September, so 68% chance, that moves markets and then aligns with October, and that's when we can get that possible altcoin season. But don't discount Bitcoin this year. This year, this cycle, Bitcoin dominance is outstanding. But yeah, I still think we make that next leg up first. And then we have that final leg up for possibly this cycle after October. And then we just like stay elevated. I'm still thinking that next year, in 2026, we're not going to have an 80% crash. We're not going to be in a 2-year crypto winter. We'll still just do more of the same. Having sideways movement, maybe some shakeouts, maybe some corrections, and then we pick up and then keep going. Music Master. I still think we top out between 200 and 250K. That's what I think. I mean, our next leg, if it brings up close to 150, then, it's just another 50K. So it's not too unreasonable. Where we are right now, going to 200, 250K, is only 100%, right? Only 100%. You're doubling your money, basically. But it's not like a crazy estimate where we're going to $1 million, where we're going to like 10x. No. But right now, like I've been mentioning yesterday's video and a few others, Man, I just wish retail, okay, the ones that are holding alts, man, I wish they have stronger hands. Right now, it's like every single small dip, alts get weaker, and Bitcoin stays fine. Bitcoin remains strong, but alts get a little weaker, little weaker, little weaker, little weaker every single little dip. And it's because retail, in my mind, are just trading. They're so scared. So whenever there's any kind of dip, they're like, okay, I gotta sell it. I gotta sell it. And no one's really accumulating like before. So that's the only disappointing thing so far. Clarkson, I agree with you. There's a lot more dilution. There's a lot more of that, but still, it goes beyond that because all the alts are going down. It's not just one. Like yesterday, alts came up decently. ETH was above 2,500, right? And then you saw Sui go back to 280s. And then today, you see him, and XRP was up to like 225. And then you see all of them go down today for really no apparent reason. Sol was like closing at 150, now it's 141. Like, there's no reason for this. Say had a huge drop from yesterday, although that's probably some profit taking from this, but still, there's no reason for this enormously huge drop. Bitcoin hardly dropped, so why did others drop so much? Bitcoin only dropped $800 from yesterday. So it's those retail investors can't be having, got to replace those leaded hands with something more solid. Peter Murphy, you said hash rate is down 30%. Does that mean we see a drop? What happened historically? I don't think I said hash rate is down 30%. When did I say hash rate is down 30%? It's not down 30%. Historically, over a long run, Bitcoin's price trails the hash rate, and the hash rate over a long run continues to just go up and up and up. The only time we had a very significant drop with hash rate was back in 2021 when China kicked out all the miners. So they shut down like half of the hash rate, and Bitcoin did have a big dip, but then it recovered back up. And then China realized that was a mistake, and now a lot of miners are back in China. Alyssa says, buying Bitcoin every day. I moved out of all alts for now. I would never sell at a loss. I don't get it. Well, I think a lot of people have done that. I think a lot of people have moved primarily to Bitcoin. I told you guys my DCA now is just Bitcoin. Alts just have no strength right now. But we'll see. We'll see later this year. Yeah, Circle's having one of those crazy recovery days. 11%. Dimitri, I have six Bitcoin, 15K Sol. I'm itching to convert Sol to more Bitcoin. Should I convert? Some say, what should you do? I can't tell you what to do. I still believe in Sol. I think Say, even though the pump has been tremendous recently, I mean, I think the fact they're in the stablecoin game, close with Trump association, and as a full-fledged L1, seems like they're doing things. I think they'll be fine long term. Papa D, you think mining stocks are done for good? I don't know about that. But I've always said I don't like mining stocks. They're too competitive. There's too many of them. And, I would much rather have MicroStrategy than any of the miner stocks. But at this point in time, I'd much rather have like Coinbase or Robinhood or Circle than MicroStrategy too. Lucky Sky has some words of wisdom. The best time to buy is when your audience at peak FUD levels. So right now is a great time to buy alts. That's pretty good wisdom, because during crypto winter, alts are like, they're all in the gutter. They're all in the trash. And those that DCA'd, maybe even DCA'd all the way down to its bottom. But those that did made a lot when it came back up. When Bitcoin fell down to 15,000 a few years ago, man, I don't even know how low the alts were. I don't even remember. MicroStrategy does qualify for the S&P 500. I covered that yesterday. There's a 91% chance that they could be included. When I drew this out and this out back in the day, no one believed it. People are like, so what? So what? It looks like a cup and handle, right? But Bitcoin got to 15,000 here, November 2022. And that was when ETH dropped to 1,000. Yeah, and then that's when Sol dropped to, oh man. Sol dropped to $9 in December of 2022. $9 to 147, 141. I mean, man. Max FUD. That's when you accumulate. As long as it's a good project. Obviously, there are some projects that never recover. But if it's a good project, they will. XRP, it was like 30 cents. Dimitri, I paid $45K for a 40-foot container from China. $35K was tariffs. That can't be. There's no way that you paid $10K and then paid $35K in tariffs. Bloody stool, there is a way. There's a lot of platforms, intelligent platforms, that show how much Bitcoin are on exchanges. It's still roughly like a little bit above 2 million overall, but it's not that accurate with OTC. not all of it, not all of the 2 million is reserved for OTC. Most of it is recorded, reserved for just regular spot buying. So getting a number on OTC is hard. And you could always have more whales that want to sell, but there's also more whales that want to buy. At some point, I've speculated this since last year. At some point, there will be so much buying OTC that it's going to dry up. I mean, just look at the ETFs. 500 million a day. Eventually, it could ramp up to a billion, 2 billion a day. You think the exchanges are going to have enough to settle $2 billion a day? It was rumored Coinbase only had $33 billion in Bitcoin. I'm sure probably half of that is gone now to the ETFs. So there's only so much out there. I don't think people realize that. This is the reason why Bitcoin is different from fiat, because there is a set supply. You can't just create more out of thin air. And all these companies that are now acquiring 100 million per week, it's all going to add up. What's your prediction for ETH this year? I'm not a huge ETH guy, but I would say at least get back to its previous high. Like 4,000, 5,000, yes. Can it go beyond that? Probably. I don't know how much beyond. If ETH could hit, 6K, something like that, 7K, maybe 8K if we have a decent altcoin season. But if not, at least it gets back to where it was, 5,000. How do you see the top 5 after the cycle? Probably the same as it is now. I don't think it's going to change much. Hyperliquid has been going up. Sui has been going up. So I think the order doesn't really change. I think this is pretty set. I don't see anyone within the top 10. I could see like Sui moving up within the top 10, somewhere like that. But, Cardano, all these top 10 are going to get their own ETFs, right? That's where things will start moving. BNB and Tron are the only ones that are not going to get their ETFs. Not now, maybe later. So maybe that pushes things like Solana above BNB, which has happened before. It could push like Doge is going to get its ETF. So Doge, Cardano, Sui could be pushed above Tron, but not huge moves. Not huge differences from now, I guess. Can Doge hit $1? There's a chance. Its peak was 70 cents last cycle. So can it get to that and go to $1? Yes, there's a chance. Especially if this spot ETF comes out. I think spot ETF during a hot altcoin season is going to help it tremendously. Why is Hyperliquid ranked so high? Seems sus. I kind of agree with you. A lot of people do use it, but they're not on any big exchanges, and their market cap, their debut market cap was huge already, like 5 billion or 6 billion. I don't trust the market cap for Hyperledger. It almost sounds like, the one that crashed 90%, like Mantra. Mantra debuted at a huge market cap. It stood there, and then some kind of liquidation event caused them to go down 90% overnight. Hopefully that's not the case with Hyperliquid. What is the max pain for tomorrow's options expirations? You know what? That's a good point. I forgot where I used to go, but tomorrow is the last Friday of the month. And generally speaking, you have some volatility there. Okay, for options and futures. I forgot where I used to go to look at it, but there was somewhere. But you know what? Let's look at some liquidation levels. So this is what it's looking like right now. We took out this level. Maybe we'll take out these levels and then we'll find a footing. And then we got to take out these levels. Yesterday we went up to 108, but then we weren't able to go any higher. So let's see if it reverses and goes upwards. You know, once we clear this, 108, 109, then look at right here. 111 is where we will probably settle. And that's when we can build from there. Have I ever been to South Korea? No, I have not. I hear it's nice. Bangkok Bert. This is the most boring bull market ever. I kind of agree with you, but let's go back a little bit. All right. Let's look at, let's just say, ETH. ETH bottomed around July of 2021. Then it started going up and it ended in November. So that's how ETH behaved last cycle. Although we had this kind of like a mini altcoin season for ETH. Let's look at like Solana, for example. Solana in 2021 started really, you know, from its bottom. It started around August and then went up, right? So you had to wait a little bit. And for AVAX, again, it started October. I mean, I know this cut off, but it seems like that's the bottom. So it started from October, went from 50 something to 150, right? So again, altcoin season, besides ETH, started later in the year, not the beginning. And we're not later in the year. We're still halfway. So let's see. What's another one? Let's look at, like, I don't know, Chainlink, for example. In 2021, yeah, again, look at Chainlink. Even though I had a mini climb here, where did most of the gains come from? You know, toward the end. Well, this is a little different. Chainlink actually did not have a huge run up in the end. It had one early in 2021. All right, so Chainlink is a little different. I misread that. What's another one? Let's see. I don't know, BNB. Even though no one really talks about BNB, let's take a look at BNB. BNB in 2021. Yeah, over here, right? It had a mini one over here. It bottomed around 317 in September, and then it doubled to 600 something in November, right? So that's what I was talking about earlier. September, October, I think we get that mini altcoin season, but there was a huge climb beforehand, right around now. Like the March, February to May, June timeframe, there was a huge spike. And then there was a huge correction, and it stayed there, and then it had another one, right? And that kind of makes sense because Bitcoin had a huge spike and a dip. See, Bitcoin had this when we hit 64,000. Then the FTX correction, and all these other stuff that happened, miners getting kicked out, Tesla banning Bitcoin, that brought Bitcoin down 50%. So we had an altcoin season happen here. Everything went down 50%. Then for alts, from this point on, went upwards. Even though Bitcoin recovered more, but alts really didn't start until like here, September. So, and we kind of had that for alts this year too, because leading up to January, February, we had a pretty good run. Right? Look at December all the way to, December. Then we had that shakeout, and now we're recovering from that. So it's kind of the same. Solana had a pretty good run up to January. We had that dip. Now it's recovering, and it could just hover until September, October, and that's when it starts going up. Kind of the same as last cycle, but not the same kind of, the range is different. These things are much bigger now. And the space is more diluted. I guess my point is, it may feel boring now. It may feel like it's different, but if you go back a cycle, somewhat similar. I think Solana was the best pickup last cycle when it dropped to $8, $9. That was a crazy pickup time. All the way until here, Solana was still at $20, October 2023. Coinbase is about to break their all-time high. I think they did already. Good for Coinbase. Kenny says that it was $8 and I sold around 15 and then it went to 200. Bottom line is, hindsight is always 2020. Okay? So we live in the moment, and the best strategy is to DCA. That's really it. Right? Of course, after the fact, you could say, well, I should have bought here, or I should have bought here, or I should have bought there, I should have bought SOL at 10. It's always should have, could have. But if you believe in a project, or you believe in Bitcoin, you believe in crypto, and you continue to DCA, that's how you get rewarded, right? But I do think with alts, you got to do a little more research into them. Make sure that they are who you think they are. Activity is high, volume is high, TVL is high, the community is still there. And if those things are still aligning and accurate, there's always a chance to come up. SOL is a case for that. It looked like it was going to die. It dropped from, 200 all the way down to $8, and it still recovered. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Overall today, we're still holding at 107. The US market is green. Can we see a flip upwards? We're waiting for that next leg. There's still so much accumulation going on, so much buying. It's just a matter of time we break out. So don't be a hindsight genius. Continue to hold on DCA. All right? Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tonight. I'll put out a video tonight, even though yesterday's I tried something new. A lot of you guys didn't watch it. But yeah, I'll put out something tonight for you guys as well. All right? Have a good one, guys. Take care.